Well, Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show presented by our friends over at FanDuel. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Got a great show for you guys tonight. Going to talk a little bit of recruiting. Got another recruit for the 2027 recruiting class. Also, Clemson Media Days today. We heard a lot from the coaching staff, Dabo Sweeney, Chad Morris, Tom Allen, and the rest of the coaching staff as well. So we'll get into that as well. And then kind of the 2026 outlook for this team. Are they going to be the same, better, or worse than last year? All of that and more in tonight's episode. But before we get into the show tonight, if you are not subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. Hit that like button for us. Really helps us out in these live videos, and it's an easy way for you to support the channel. Shout out to all the channel members. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I see Zachariah in here already. John in here as well. Two of our great channel members. Thank you for being in here. And with all of that said, and without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Jordan Bowman. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Living the dream. It's been a good afternoon. Work was kind of light. Had Chick-fil-A for dinner, so I'm always
good.
Not sponsored, by the way. So, but yeah. We'll take one if you want them. I'm a very, very avid Chick-fil-A supporter. So
yeah, for sure.
You know, if any like reps are watching the show by off chance, let's work something out. You know, there's the. You know, they say that, what's his face over on Author, J.D. Vaquel, he said Clemson is like the Chick-fil-A of the college football world. I mean, I think there's a brilliant marketing opportunity there.
Yeah, there's a good partnership here. We could, we could make it happen.
Yeah. But no, it's been a good week. Hope everybody else has had a good one as well. Lots to talk about today. Had some really nice sound bites from Clemson Media Day. And obviously the big commitment over the weekend, I was very excited about that one. Excited to break that one down. So yeah, it's gonna be a nice show tonight. We're also gonna kind of start giving you guys a teaser about how we feel about this team coming up in 2026. This is a very pivotal year for the program. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like a a very important season for the Tigers upcoming in 2026. Definitely I think, a very pivotal year in the Dabo Swinney tenure of Clemson, and it'll go far in determining, kind of what this program is going to continue to be under his tenure. So we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. Shout out to the comment section real quick before we dive into the show tonight. Zachariah, thank you so much for being in here. One of our great channel members. See that symbol by his name that says that he supports the show on a monthly basis. We appreciate you so much for that. John Sarian, of course, always in here. One of our OGs, moderator, also a monthly supporter of the channel. Thank you so much for being in here, John. Dakota in here as well. Thank you for being in here, sir. Appreciate you. KD in here says, "Go Tigers." Thank you for being in here. Appreciate you as well. Thank you for all that are in the comment section already. As you guys know, at the end of every show, me and Jordan will turn it over to you guys, the comment section, let you guys drive the rest of the show. So continue to comment throughout the show, get your questions in, and we will get to as many as we can towards the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. Hit that like button if you have not already. And with that said, Jordan, let's go ahead and dive into the show tonight.
Let's do it.
All right, going to kick it off with recruiting tonight, Jordan. Obviously, over the weekend, we got a commit from Seth Tillman, defensive lineman, 6'2", 294 pounds, out of South Carolina. Your thoughts on him, what his commitment means to the Tigers, and what kind of player we are getting in Seth Tillman?
Yeah, I mean, Seth is a guy that when you watch his tape, he is a very versatile defensive lineman, has a lot of punch and length on his frame. Really kind of a consistent theme with this defensive line class. It was very obvious that Clemson was trying to get more size and length at the defensive tackle position. After the last few cycles, they kind of had to settle on some of their second and third options, maybe guys lower on the board because of decommitments. Obviously, like Isaiah Campbell and Keyshawn Stansel jump off the page to you the last couple of cycles as far as decommitments. So this is a return to form for Clemson defensive line recruiting, especially a defensive tackle. Massive win for Nick Eason and this defensive staff. He's a guy that plays along the line at high school, definitely projects on the interior at the next level. I believe On3's player comp had compared him to Byron Young from Alabama. I see it a lot with the frame. I think Seth is only going to continue to grow into his body. He's already at a really nice size at this point. And I think he's, just really maybe a year in the strength and conditioning program is going to do wonders for him. Because he already has pretty tremendous power, when you look at him and when you watch him play. So, I think he still only has more room to grow there. And the twitch and athleticism, I think, on the interior is going to be a really valuable piece. So, I'm really excited about this get. You beat the in-state rival for him. You beat out Georgia, Michigan. This was a really massive commitment for Clemson to get. And, I think, the things that kind of motivated him to stay closer to home, obviously, those of you that keep track of recruiting, unfortunately, Seth lost his father last week. Really, keep him in your prayers and keep that family in your prayers. But, that obviously was also a motivating factor in staying closer to home, being closer to family. But Seth is a kid that, had spent, countless years at Clemson camps, as a little kid, was a Clemson fan growing up. So it was very important that Clemson went and won this battle. There were a lot of, at different points during his recruitment, there were a lot of people that seemed to think his recruitment was trending elsewhere, and Clemson was kind of maybe running third or fourth place. But I think Clemson was always in it more than people realized, and they went ahead and got the deal done. So they add a tremendous player to this defensive line class. Depending on where you look, he's a top 100 player, the number 2 or 3 rated player in the state of South Carolina. A big in-state win in a class where you haven't really emphasized the state that much, but you still ended up getting one of the best players. And that's ultimately what you have to do when you're Clemson is like, yeah, you're not going to just sweep the state in terms of all the prospects because they recruit at a national level, and obviously Georgia and Florida and the Carolinas are equally as important. So it was, but you still have to go and get those top guys, and if you can get the top players in the state to commit to you, you gotta go and do it because ultimately, Clemson has been at its best when it has been recruiting well in the state, even when they're recruiting the state of Georgia, the Tennessee, Florida, North Carolina, Alabama. You still have to go and get your in-state guys. And when you look at the players that have contributed to national championships in this school's history, it's littered with guys from South Carolina just as much as guys from Georgia and other places. So welcome, Seth, to the class. Hopefully you get a double trouble of Seths here in the near future, as you still have probably the biggest, the biggest chip left on the board in Seth Williams, who is still, kind of weighing his options, still kind of torn between Clemson and Georgia. But nonetheless, Clemson puts a bow on its defensive line class in resounding fashion, beating 2 of your rivals to get them.
Yeah, look, great get for the Clemson Tigers. Welcome to Tiger Town, Seth Tillman. This guy's a force in the middle, right? He's got size, physicality. He's athletic. He eats up blocks in the middle. He's a force in the running game. You turn on the tape and he's an impressive guy. So really good get for the Tigers. It's awesome to kind of get these in-state guys that Clemson kind of struggles to get sometimes. But they get Seth Tillman to kind of shut it down. Definitely prayers to, thoughts and prayers with him and his family with the recent passing of his father. That's tough. But I look forward to seeing him in a Clemson uniform. I think he's going to be a really huge anchor in the center of that defensive line for years to come for the Tigers. So really good get. Happy to have him in Tiger Town, and just a nice kind of, as you put it, bow on this recruiting class for the defensive line. It's been a really good cycle for Clemson along the defensive line, and he's kind of that cherry on top of this 2027 class for the defensive line group.
100%. And yeah, like I said, he's only going to get better, as he, gets into the program. And I think the potential is really there for him to be an all conference type of starter for you. And a pretty high NFL draft pick. I think he's got all the makings, and definitely reminds you of, the Clemson defensive linemen of old. This is the last couple of cycles, you kind of forgot what it felt like. I mean, obviously, getting Amari Adams a couple cycles ago was nice, but, in between that, hasn't been a ton to write home about, to be honest with you. And that's not to, denigrate the players that are currently on the roster and the guys that they've recruited in the last couple of cycles. But they are a step below, in, at least from a recruiting prowess and acumen standpoint, from the type of guys you were pretty accustomed to the last 10, 15 years at Clemson along the defensive line. So, you had to restock the cupboard. You lost some NFL talent like Peter Woods and DeMonte Capehart on the interior. So, it was important that you got an infusion of talent there, and that's why you went and got help from the portal for this 2026 team. So, but you can't ultimately rely on that every cycle. You got to have guys in the cupboard that you've been developing, and Clemson still wants to market itself and, run itself as a developmental program where they get guys from the high school ranks and turn them into productive starters. So you got to do that. If you're going to do that, you still got to recruit well, and you got to get the guys with the measurables, the prerequisites, the potential to develop into those types of players, because you're not going to get a 2-star Grady Jarrett every cycle. It's just those guys just don't grow on trees. You got to go get the 4 and 5 stars. So Seth Tillman is definitely one of those types of players.
Absolutely. Can't wait to get him on campus. Can't wait to see what his career turns out to be at Clemson. And as you mentioned, this is a return to kind of what you're used to seeing along the recruiting trail for Clemson defensive linemen. So really excited that this recruiting class has gone the way that it has. I don't think it really could have gone any better for the Clemson Tigers, especially coming off a 7-6 season. I mean, I don't think anybody saw this recruiting class coming after what happened last season. Because, I mean, you look at the past couple seasons, the recruiting classes have not been what Clemson has grown accustomed to under Dabo Swinney.
No.
So this is kind of a return back to kind of what we're used to. So that's definitely a step in the right direction, and we'll see what 2026 holds.
We shall.
All right, make sure you guys are searching Clemson Live on all your favorite audio streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. Search Clemson Live, whether you're working out, on a long drive, commuting to work, whenever and wherever you like to consume your podcast, search Clemson Live on all your favorite audio streaming platforms. We're trying to grow that side of the channel. All of our videos over there are long-form content. I know a lot of people, when they're driving or working out, obviously don't want to watch a YouTube video. So all the content is over there in podcast form. So go check it out. Clemson Live on all your favorite audio streaming platforms. Thank you for that. All right, Jordan. Clemson Media Day was today. We heard from Dabo Swinney. We heard from Tom Allen. We heard from Chad Morris, Taj Boyd, you name it. Every single coach possible. Dennis Love.
Tyler Grisham.
I mean, every single coach on Clemson's staff essentially was available to the media today, and you heard from them. So a lot of information about kind of how spring went, how the summer has gone, and what the projections are heading into fall as far as the health of the team, as far as the projections, and all that kind of stuff heading into fall camp. And then Clemson has ACC Media Days this week as well. I think their day's Thursday.
Yep.
So they will be in Charlotte for ACC Media Days on Thursday, answering all sorts of questions from the media on that day as well. So, I mean, football is officially starting, Jordan. This is official. This is the week when we can say officially football is back. Media days are kicking off. Fall camp's going to be here and gone before you know it, and it's going to be September 5th, and we're going to be facing off against LSU. So tell me a little bit about the Clemson Media Day today. What particular coach do you think kind of gave some nuggets out there, or what stood out to you, whether it be Dabo Swinney, Tom Allen, Tyler Grisham, whoever, who kind of stood out to you, or what kind of headlines coming out of Clemson Media Day kind of stood out to you?
Yeah. Didn't get to watch the long form video content for a lot of these guys, but I was able to read the nuggets and then the stuff that that came out today. Obviously, Dabo's press conference obviously is the one that gets the most attention. My biggest takeaway from the things that he said were, I mean, obviously the competition in the spring, this offseason, I should say, has just been at I feel like a better level than it was last year. Obviously, there's a lot of more guys with a lot to prove. This is not the star-studded team full of household names that you expected to have their names called in the NFL draft like last season. And I think that was, Dabo definitely spun that as a positive. And I think in a lot of ways, I agree. just in the light of what happened last season. I mean, you needed a reset. You needed guys that would come in hungry, and obviously the team last year did not show that in a lot of respects, and the record showed that pretty much. So it was important this year to get guys that were bought in and believed in the team, and not necessarily just believing their own hype, because a lot of these guys don't have hype. they don't have the accolades and the mock drafts, projections and things like that to go along with the number on their jersey, and that like they're just another guy right now. A lot of these guys, they are Jags, but that doesn't mean that they're guys that can't play.
Right.
But they are, a lot of this group is quote unquote Jags, or guys that have not proven themselves and shown that they are ready to be considered at the top of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of ways, this team, Dabo really pointed it out today that they are a group that has a lot to prove. Not obviously individually, but as a team too. And I think that kind of bled into really the whole I don't know, the vibe of media day. It seemed like when it as far as like the other interviews, the other coaches talking. I mean, it was. They were echoing a lot of the same sentiments. I was really, of course, impressed with Chad Morris's interview. That there were a lot of really juicy sound bites. That a lot of things to get excited about based off of how he was talking. I mean, of course, we've talked about Clemson's emphasis this offseason on being able to run the football, but it was even more apparent, and Chad Morris really delved into it. Today, and it's so funny just kind of seeing the contrast from last year, not last year, from the last time Chad Morris was the offensive coordinator. Back then it was, we're going to run 80 plus plays a game, and we're going to be super fast. We're going to do all these things. We're going to hit explosive plays, our receivers, all that. But I think Chad Morris, I think understanding, what he was brought in to do, and what this team needs to be able to do, and what they need to get back to doing, it was different than what it was when he was announced as offensive coordinator in 2011. Yeah, this team needs to hit explosive plays. Yeah, I mean, the passing game needs to be good. You've got a great wide receiver room, and pass catchers in general. And you should have a quarterback, at least one quarterback on the roster capable of getting the football to them. But the most important thing for this offense was being able to run the football. And he said that is first and foremost what this team is going to be, and that needs to be their identity. And so, just kind of contrary to the previous, his previous tenure, the emphasis on running the football was really, really apparent. So I was really pleased with all the things that he said today about just kind of his philosophy on the offense. Obviously, the tidbits about the quarterback battle were nice as well. But I think just overall, I think Chad Morris's interview jumped out to me the most for obvious, those obvious reasons. And I think if you're a Clemson fan, gives you a lot of reason to be excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a ton of reasons to be hopeful, I guess, or a little excited about the outlook of this team in 2026 and kind of what it's going to be. And you heard a lot from, obviously, Dabo Swinney outlined everything and talked about this summer and the transformation phase, as he likes to call it, and guys putting in work this summer and what that's going to mean going forward. And there's some key pieces on this team that are going to have to prove themselves. You kind of mentioned there's a bunch of Jags here or guys that haven't quite made themselves household names at Clemson yet, right? They have the talent, they have the ability. They've just yet to do it on the field, right? Gideon Davison is a guy that comes to mind. Even a guy in Tyler Brown, amazing freshman season, but we need to see that again, right? And he's going to be a huge catalyst. Chris Vizina, obviously a guy that's been here for 3 years, limited playing time, only one start under his belt, but he's going to be the signal caller, right? Come week 1 against LSU, so it's going to be pivotal for him to be that guy, to operate within the offense, to be the distributor of the football and getting the ball out quickly to the playmakers out in space and letting them do what they do, right? And then hearing about the defense and it's rebuilt and all the secondary pieces that were brought on and how those guys have really come in with I think a different level of, I guess, hunger or just determination to make an impact early. I think you've seen and heard a lot of the coaches talk about the way that those guys came in ready to prove themselves and ready to really hit the ground running and get to work. So I think that's something that's encouraging, right? And hearing from Tyler Grisham about the the receiver room, it's good to hear that Brian Wesco is a full go heading into fall camp, as is TJ Moore. So he's fully healthy, back from his little procedure. So it sounds like you got a 100% healthy wide receiver room heading into fall camp. Hopefully it stays that way through week 1 as well. So, a lot of stuff, a lot of pieces, still a lot of question marks for the Clemson Tigers. I think fall camp is going to go a long way, especially along that offensive line. You heard from Matt Luke today, right? Who's going to be those 5 guys that step up? Who's going to be those guys that kind of separate themselves, right? So that's going to be certainly a question that we're going to want answered as we go through fall camp. Going to be paying close attention to that, especially with Chad Morris and how much he talked about the running game and how he wants to get back to a physical brand of football when it comes to the Clemson Tigers and really dictating to the defense what we're going to do, not just taking what the defense is giving us. He always talks about taking those shots every single game or every single quarter. I think that's super important, especially when you have the playmakers that you do have along the outside. But really the thing that strikes me is him talking about he's not going to come in here and run the Chad Morris offense of old where it's just tempo, tempo, tempo. He kind of talked about playing with tempo, right? Going fast, going slow, just varying the tempo to keep the defense off balance and to keep the offense on schedule and doing what they need to be doing. So interested to see what this new iteration of the Chad Morris / Clemson offense looks like. I think it's got potential, but again, a ton of question marks still to be answered for the Tigers as we head into fall camp.
Yeah, absolutely. A ton of questions. But, there were some other things, about today that, some other nuggets that were dropped across the interviews that we were able to, watch and read about. And I think one that really stuck out to me, another one that really impressed me was Dennis Love, strength and conditioning coach, newly minted, but returning to Clemson, as the full-time strength coach. I was really impressed, honestly, with just kind of his, obviously the things he said about, the emphasis this year, on just getting back to guys, playing at, their peak, ability and playing at their peak athletic profile. Obviously, I think a big emphasis this offseason was just getting guys getting faster, but also putting on more size. I mean, that's what you want. You want to be bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
I think the Chris Johnson Jr. Tidbit about him coming in, spring as running a 4.38 40 and left running a 4.24. I mean, if that's not the fastest on the team, that's you might be having a lot of fun. But that's those are the types of things that you want to see. Out of your strength and conditioning coach, because you want guys to get bigger, you want guys to get faster. and obviously Chris Johnson Jr. in particular was a guy that came in. I remember Dabo, talking about, in his, his player interview. Well, I don't know if it was his exit interview or when he got on campus, or I can't remember if it was during his visit. He told him straight out, "It's like, you look like a guy that hasn't really, taken this whole football thing that seriously yet." And with your God-given, abilities, you should be a lot farther along than you are now.
Right.
And so I think he took that to heart, and I think Dennis Love has been a big part of that. So obviously he's gotten faster, which is incredible. I mean, with how fast he already was, but the fact that he's put on size as well, that was the one concern. Is like, okay, yeah, he can run really fast. He's a burner, home run hitter, but it's not really. I don't know how effective he's going to be if you ask him to run between the tackles. Is he going to be able to take hits? I mean, and do the things that a traditional running back has to do. But it seems like they've come a long way in getting him there as well. And he's put on the size, and the fact that he's put on size and also gotten faster, that's that's just incredible. So Chris Johnson is a guy that we have talked about a decent bit over this offseason. Obviously, Gideon Davidson is rightfully is the guy that we all feel is going to be taking the the RB1 duties, but I think Chris Johnson is going to be every bit as important in this offense, with all of the things that he'll be able to do, not just running the football, and him getting right from a body standpoint, and only getting faster. It means he's going to be one of the most productive players on this offense, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that was probably one of the more, I think, important pieces that came out of this Clemson Media Day was, Coach Love and kind of what he's focused on this offseason, the transformation phase this summer with these players. And you heard, kind of renewed, I would say it's a renewed level of intensity that they approached this offseason with, this summer training with. He really focused on, as you mentioned, the speed and agility of all of these guys, and really, really challenging them, each and every one of them. You mentioned Chris Johnson Jr., but it wasn't just him, right? Like, he challenged every single one of these Clemson football players to get better this offseason. And I think that renewed level of intensity when it comes to the strength and conditioning program, I think it's going to go a long way. And that's not to slight at all what it was before. But I think you just have you got a fresh set of eyes in there, and it's just kind of there's a newness to it. There's a certain level of intensity to it. He's excited to take over the program. You heard Dabo Swinney talk about him. He's a Clemson guy. I mean, we literally stole him from the NFL. He should be the strength and conditioning coach of the Minnesota Vikings right now. But thankfully for us, he chose to turn that job down, knowing that he was going to get the position at Clemson after last year. So I think this is probably one of the more important hires that I think Dabo made in the offseason, and I think he did a fantastic job of replacing a long-time strength and conditioning coach. And I certainly think that you're already hearing how it's been different since he took over this summer. So I just like hearing about the intensity and how he personally challenged each and every one of those guys to get better. And it's crazy when you mention a guy like Chris Johnson Jr. And Dabo kind of challenged him when he got to Clemson, like, hey, I don't think you've taken football seriously. Think about the raw talent that dude's had to have to get as far as he has without actually fully committing to the game of football.
I watched him in person against Clemson, this past season, and watched him break off, 70-yard runs and, take it to the house. And he was a nightmare for this defense to account for.
Which
I
is
mean,
it's
just imagine.
it's kind of it's scary and fun to think about, like what
Yeah.
he could become, if he truly locks in, which, judging by all reports, he has this offseason. So I look forward to seeing how they use him this upcoming season, because
Oh yeah,
he's special, man.
I agree, man. I'm excited to see him in action, to see what they're going to do. Kind of going back to Chad Morris and talking about all the new, he talked about how they're in all the new formations and personnel groupings that they're going to be able to work with. They really feel excited about just all the things that this offense is going to be able to do. Now, obviously, we want to see it in person, and it's and see it in action and see it on the field. But all of the things from today should be seen as positive. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's ultimately what this team is going to be in the fall, because we heard a lot of great things last offseason about that team, but a lot of it was smoke and mirrors, and obviously the team we got on the field was nowhere close to the team that they had purported themselves to be.
I think that team was feeling themselves a little too much heading into last year. They got a rude awakening in week 1 and never truly recovered after that, if we're being honest.
No.
It was just kind of stumbling through the rest of the season.
Just very, very just shocking. Just still in my head, just seeing how that season played out. It really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But the things that weren't being done well, that you were just kind of the program, you were just kind of hiding it behind all the all the star-studded talent, the mock drafts. I mean, these guys are going to be drafted in the first couple of rounds, but all of that was really hiding a culture and a team that wasn't really all that prepared for any sort of adversity, and they crumbled. And
I guess they thought they were just supposed to roll up and everybody was just supposed to kind of bow down to them. That was not the case.
Nope.
That was not the case at all. So,
but talking about some of the other coaches, we mentioned Dennis Love, Tyler Grisham and the wide receiver group. Obviously, they feel really great about the room as a whole. I mean, and I 100% agree. I'm very pleased with how the wide receiver room is sitting right now. Probably my favorite position group on the team, for obvious reasons. Beyond the Bryant Wesco returning and being full go, and TJ Moore, of course, looking to build on his season last year. They've been really pleased with the guys around him. We talked about Tyler Brown, who I feel like had a really strong spring and is in a really good position to be your starting slot receiver. But they feel great about the young guys, the true freshman trio of Naeem Burrows and Connor Salmon and Gordon Sellers. They've all just come in as if they'd already been in the program, and obviously all three of them are extremely talented. They were coveted by also a lot of top programs for a reason. All 4-5-star caliber talents, but just to come in and be as ready as they are in a season where they didn't necessarily need to have it all figured out in the first year, it's really, really exciting. And Dabo talked about it. Tyler Grisham talked about it. I mean, those guys have just come in and they've been all about the work. Gordon Sellers got a lot of praise. We haven't talked about him a ton. But I think he's every bit as capable the rest of the guys in this room, and I think he's got a bright future. Obviously he's behind some stiff competition right now.
Yeah.
But in previous years, he'd be a guy we'd be talking about, starting as day one. So I mean that tells you how good this wide receiver room is. I feel like that's the one thing you feel pretty confident is going to be a plus for you this year. Just with the amount of guys with production and also the amount of guys that have the potential, and it's a really good mix of different body types, skill sets. Yeah, I think you're going to be able to do a lot of things, and I think Chad Morris is got to be pleased with the room he has to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the weapons are plentiful on this roster, and you mentioned even the young guys just coming in, being about their business. And I'm excited to see talking about the other side of the ball, what this defense is going to look like in year two under Tom Allen. Dabo Swinney talked about it a little bit about the importance of it being year two and kind of some of the hurdles and challenges that they faced in year one of trying to overhaul and then change that entire system and how it never really meshed, never really kind of looked the way that you thought it would or really wanted it to in year one. But you go out in the transfer portal and you kind of retool the entire back end of that defense. You bring in 9 transfer guys on the defensive side of the ball, and you brought in some ballers and some playmakers and some dudes that have had a lot of success at other places. And now the key is let's get in fall camp. Let's get these guys gelled together. Obviously, they had the spring, you had the summer transformation. Now it's time to get to fall camp and really see what this defense can be in 2026. That's going to be a key for this Clemson team. You cannot give up the amount of explosive plays in the passing game that you did last year, and that's going to kind of be the key. So I'm really excited and interested to see what this next iteration or this second iteration of the Tom Allen defense at Clemson looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's like we said, it's a group on defense that especially that doesn't have the star-studded group that they had last year, but it's a group that they feel that like they added some guys that can help them do the things that they want to do well. Obviously, stopping the run, that Clemson got a million times better stopping the run last year, but they gave up explosive plays and had pretty awful coverage busts, and they were often really slow, on the back end. And they did a lot to change that. I feel like they, obviously they brought in, 2 safeties that they feel have the length and size and speed prerequisites that they just weren't able to rotate in last year and help you in those big time money passing downs. And obviously you got help on the interior of the defensive line. And you feel like those guys are going to be able to contribute for you. I don't necessarily think, I don't think any of them is Peter Woods or DeMonte Capehart, but they're all guys that have a lot to prove, but can take up space in the middle and help you plug up those, plug up those gaps, especially in the run game. So it's a group that they feel like will be more cohesive together. A group that has played a good amount of college football. When you consider the guys they brought in from the transfer portal, but is also mixed it in with guys that they feel have long-term potential, along with the guys they've recruited from high school. So it's a good mix of guys that have a lot to prove for different reasons. Some of them are on their last or second to last year of eligibility. Others are guys that weren't able to play at their previous stop that have to prove that they can get on the field. And then there are other guys that have been in the program that they that have potential but have not realized it yet. So you can say, oh, well, that might just be the makings of a bad defense. But I disagree. Obviously, when you consider the the talent of some of these guys, but also just it doesn't come, this group doesn't come with the baggage and all of that comes with a group of players that have the accolades to their name and have all the expectations. I think it's a different kind of vibe around the defense this year, and I think it's one for the positive when you just compare it to last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the consensus, just kind of hearing the coaches talk and hearing Dabo talk, I think there's certainly a sense of a lot of guys ready to get out there and prove themselves, and that's a stark difference from last season, where they were kind of preseason crowned as they're going to the national championship, and man, this team's amazing, and look at all these players, and a bunch of guys making a ton of NIL money, and that's not the case this year. And it seems that there's a certain level of hunger and intensity and just guys ready to go out there and show what they can do. And I think that's going to be a good change for Clemson in this upcoming season. So we'll see how it all works out. You like to hear all the good stuff coming out of media days. That's what you expect from stuff like this as a fan. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the the bad stuff. It's all going to be hopeful and good outlooks and all that kind of stuff. So you still have to go into this season with some cautious optimism. I think I think there's been some significant changes made. We'll see if they work out. But it's certainly a different team than last year, and I think that's a good thing because it clearly did not work out.
Clearly.
All right, guys, make sure you are checking out the Voice of College Football website. That's right, vocfb.com, our very own website. There's stories written over there by guys just like me and Jordan, just trying to get into this saturated sports media market. Guys that love college football, guys that are diehard fans, just like you guys in the comment section. So go check it out. Read some of those articles. Those guys do a great job of just covering college football on a national level. Our show schedules are over there. It's kind of your one-stop shop for all things Voice of College Football, all the different team channels and things like that over there. So go check it out, vocfb.com. That's vocfb.com. We appreciate you guys and your support of the website over there. All right, guys, we're about halfway through the show. We got another segment coming up, and then we're going to turn it over to you guys, the comment section. So make sure you're still getting into the comment section, asking your questions, and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to get to it as we get through the last segment of the show tonight. If you have not already, we've got 25 people here in the live chat. Go ahead and hit that like button for us. It's a real quick, easy way to support the channel. It's free, and it really does help us out, especially on these live videos. All right, Jordan, we have yet to do the game-by-game preview of Clemson's season or a full season breakdown of how we see the 2026 college football season going for the Clemson Tigers, and we're not going to quite do that yet on this show. It's coming up soon, guys, I promise. We got a special guest coming up next week, but I just want to kind of spend a couple minutes here and talk about Clemson's outlook heading into 2026. We just got finished talking about media days and hearing from all the coaches and all the newness of this team, both on the coaching staff and some of the transfer portal and freshmen and the influx of talent that has been added to the roster. So just a real simple question. Better, worse, the same? What is Clemson's outlook in 2026 realistically, if you're a Clemson Tiger fan here in July, anticipating what's going to happen this season?
Yeah. And it seems like such a simple question when you at face value. But I think it's really interesting for a program like Clemson when you look at a team that massively underperformed expectations the year before, and now you're squaring that with a team that doesn't on paper doesn't nearly have the same level of talent, at least in the starting 22 that last the previous year's team had, at least as far as accolades and production is concerned. um, it's kind of tough. It's like, because better as in, is the talent better? I don't know if the talent is necessarily better, but will the results be better? Will the cohesiveness, will the chemistry be better? Will the staff be better?
Yeah.
These are all things that you have to consider, and you have to kind of you kind of have to juggle with when comparing it to last year. And when you look at this program, and we just talked about it in the media day segment, but you have to feel more positive about the vibes, so to speak. You like that the defense, is full of guys with a lot to prove. The offense has guys with a lot to prove. Obviously, the quarterback situation, and obviously the uncertainty that brings. Having a new starting quarterback always makes this a tough thing to kind of evaluate. Um, but when I was kind of weighing this question before the show, it ultimately, the thing that drew me the closest and the most to saying that this team will be better in 2026 is that I just think you finally you got adults in the room. I feel like there were a lot, in a lot of situations last year, and in a lot of places last year, you didn't have the leadership that maybe you needed, not just from a player standpoint, which certainly was lacking at times, but from a staff standpoint, and guys in positions that they didn't need to be in it. I mean, obviously it starts at the top with Dabo, and I'm not saying Dabo's not an adult; he certainly is, but there just wasn't a lot of oversight. And I felt like obviously there were parts of the program that were just kind of, falling by the wayside, and just kind of being allowed to their own devices. And it was for the worst. Obviously Garrett Riley didn't have the same commanding presence that Chad Morris does. And obviously the play calling, and just the offensive philosophy in general, just it never came together, never meshed. You didn't have the right guys in a lot of places, on the defensive side of the ball. The breakdowns in communication, the misunderstandings, um, it wasn't good from that standpoint. And just the overall physicality, the strength, the speed of the team last year, it just felt like everything was several ticks and steps below what it should be. Um, and I think that was ultimately the thing that Clemson most needed to correct was, you know, from an operational standpoint, are we doing the things that we used to do, that made us successful? Um, from a practice standpoint, are we as intense as we need to be? Are we maximizing our strength and conditioning? Are we holding our guys accountable? And ultimately, accountability just was not there at all levels last season. So I think this team, and what's going to make them a better team than last year's team, at least from a record standpoint, I think is going to be accountability. I think and it sounds cliche because Clemson has they have like a whole currency of accountability points. It's really funny, but like I really feel like that's going to be the biggest change in this team this year is guys are going to be holding each other accountable. You have players, from other, obviously bringing in guys from the transfer portal that have experience, means a lot. But also just, the changes you've made on the staff, the retooling, and, just getting guys that know what they're doing at the coordinator position, between Chad Morris and Tom Allen. Those guys are adults. Those guys command a lot of respect. They command a lot from their players. And it didn't feel like, in previous years, not just last year, you didn't have that from your coordinators. So I all of that long-winded explanation to say I think this team is better from a record, at least from a record standpoint in 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you summed it up great there, and I think you hit a lot of the key points of why Clemson fans should be a little bit maybe cautiously optimistic heading into 2026. One, some staff changes, right? I think we upgraded when it comes to offensive coordinator. Now, again, when the Chad Morris hire was first announced, I was not a fan of it, to be completely honest. Since then, it's grown on me a bit. I like what he's preaching from a philosophy standpoint, and I certainly think there's an upgrade of just you mentioned it there, and I think the key is accountability, intensity, right? Like Chad Morris, ask any player who's ever played for him. He is very demanding. He is very intense, and he will make you run it over and over again until you get it right. He is not a guy that's going to let somebody go half speed and just kind of go through the motions in practice. He's very intense and very holding people accountable in that way. So I think you have two very strong personalities at your coordinator positions, and Tom Allen on the defense and then Chad Morris on the offense. So I think that leadership that you were speaking about earlier has definitely increased. You called it adults in the room, right? You got some dudes that are older with experience, not a bunch of yes men, guys that have their own philosophy about football, guys that are going to take full responsibility of their side of the ball and kind of be those head coaches of that side of the ball, and not only develop the players, but develop the coaches underneath them, right? Which is another very important portion of their job and something that people don't talk about a lot, right? And I just think there was a lot of, it just seemed like a overall lack of focus, lack of intensity. And then, not to knock Garrett Riley, but his offense just never really worked at Clemson. It was not a fit. It didn't mesh. I thought it was a home run hire when it happened. No one would have ever convinced me when Dabo Swinney made that hire that it wasn't going to work, but it did not work. I mean, it was a complete failure. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not all on him, but he does shoulder a lot of that blame because that's his offense, right? That's the product that he presented on the field for 3 seasons, and you had to move on. So I think there's some there's reasons to be a little optimistic heading into the season. I think you got a bunch of guys that are hungry and ready to prove what they can do. I think you have a team that probably learned from last season and some of the people that are no longer on the roster of, hey, this is what happens when you lose focus. This is what happens when you kind of start reading your own press clippings. This is what happens when you start feeling yourself and listening to the media a little bit too much. What did Nick Saban always call it? Rat poison. They were gobbling it up last offseason. And then week 1, they got smacked in the face by an LSU team, and they never really recovered. I mean, it was basically stumbling your way through the rest of the season, and somehow you went on to win 7 games. I'm not even really sure how they did that because there were problems on that team all over the place last year. The defense, the back end, giving up huge plays, the offense, the inconsistencies at quarterback, the inconsistencies with not being able to run the ball essentially at all, not committing to the run, just a lot of problems. So I do think this team will be better from a record standpoint. We're not going to do a game-by-game prediction yet, but I do think 9 games is achievable of wins this season when you're looking at Clemson's schedule. Now, will that happen? Am I predicting that? No, not right now. I'll get into my prediction, as the weeks come. But I do think that is something that could happen for this team, right? If all things go according to plan, right? If the Chad Morris, the new experiment of Chad Morris works out, if the defense gets their stuff cleaned up on the back end, that kind of stuff. So I think there's reasons to be optimistic. I think there's reasons to be even a little excited to see what this team could become, to see what that defense looks like with all those transfers, to see what this offense is gonna look like. What's Chris Vezina gonna do? He's waited his turn. He's been here for 3 years. Is he gonna come out there and kind of take it and not look back, or is he going to feel that pressure from Tate Reynolds nipping at his heels? We'll see. But I think it will be a better season from a record standpoint, and just overall focus. I think this team is approaching the upcoming season completely different than last year's team. And that's a very good thing because we don't need a repeat of that. When you got 9 dudes drafted to the NFL and you churn out what they churned out on the field last season, it's pretty embarrassing. So
it is pretty embarrassing, but it seems like you and I are in agreement that this team improves, at least on its record from last year. And I guess technically the betting markets seem to somewhat agree. FanDuel, I believe, has Clemson at a over/under win total of 7.5. So with juice to the under, so that means they think it's more likely Clemson goes 8-4 than they do 7-5. So hey, if you guys want to, I personally don't bet on my own team.
No.
But if I did, I would do it over at FanDuel. Because obviously I think they have the best odds. And it's not just my opinion either. It's fact. It's scientific. I would know. So y'all make sure to go support our sponsor FanDuel and go win you some moolah. It's a really good time right now. Obviously the World Cup is coming down to its conclusion. Really tough loss by France today. Can't say I was rooting for them, but I thought they would thought they would put up a better fight than that, but they look pretty. Spain is just that good. They made them look pretty average. So. But if you're not a huge soccer guy or a soccer fan in general, but want a way to participate in the World Cup and make the games a little bit more interesting, why don't you hop on FanDuel? Sprinkle a little money here and there.
Yeah, $5 here, $5 there. Nothing crazy. Don't be betting your mortgage or your rent or your car payment or anything like that. But it's fun, man.
Maybe the internet bill.
Maybe the internet bill. But if that don't interest you, there's a ton of college football bets out there right now. Season total, over-unders. They're week 1. The odds are already out for that. You can bet on those games if you have a good read on what you think it's going to be. Get some of those early odds. That's where you can kind of get the most bang for your buck sometimes. So go check out our friends over at FanDuel. They always have the latest and greatest in sports betting odds. So. All right, guys, while you're doing that, go ahead and hop on over to VOCFB-shop and get some Voice of College Football Clemson gear. Shirts, T-shirts, hats, koozies, tumblers, polos. We got it all over there, VOCFB-shop. Go check it out. Get yourself something nice. Help support the show and what me and Jordan do here on the channel. That's VOCFB-shop. It's in the link below every single one of our videos. So just go ahead and click that. Go check it out. Get yourself something nice and support the show. All right, guys, we got 35 people in the live chat right now. That does it for the planned portion of our show. I'm going to turn it over to you guys, the comment section, hang out with you guys for a little bit, answer some questions, and then we'll get out of here for the night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see what y'all are talking about. Obviously, we like to give priority to our channel members and, of course, super chats as well. But try to hit as many of these as possible before we get on out of here. Let's see. We already starred one. I'll actually go with I'll kick us off with a channel member here. Let's see. David says, certainly did not have the coaching staff on the same page. I think this year the line will look a lot better and get better as the season progresses. Yeah, I mean, I think that was very evident that this, just the whole operation didn't mesh together. I mean, it felt like there were a lot of people, not just players, but coaches waiting on somebody else to fix things and make corrections and, hold this player accountable. And it was a mess. It was just a group of individuals running out there on the field each week. And some weeks they were able to muster enough because they were, they're talented enough to win, and others, the other team came to play. And in a lot of moments, you flat out got embarrassed because when you played a football team that was playing together, and even if they didn't necessarily have on paper the most talent or more talent than you. So, and definitely this year, it definitely feels like they've done the things needed to get everybody on the same page. Now, does that mean that this team is going to be great just because everybody is kind of has an understanding of what the expectation is? Not necessarily, no, because I mean, like we said, like this group isn't full of proven names and guys. So a lot of what we talked about and a lot of our projection is projection. And obviously we've liked the things we've heard this offseason, but we don't have a lot of data to go off of for a number of these players, and especially in a Clemson uniform. So it ultimately is, somewhat of a guess. And I mean, every year is somewhat of a guess, but
yeah,
especially this season with so much uncertainty at a number of different positions. So, but I think the overall, I think the overall ethos and just vibe of this team is different from last year's because it feels like things are more cohesive there. That there is I think there's an understanding amongst everybody in that building about what is at stake this year, and how important it is, because I mean, some guys are coaching for their job. Some players are trying to make a name for themselves and hopefully work themselves into NFL draft discussion. But ultimately, this program is trying to reassert itself as a program, as one of the top programs in the country, because they have not been that for a while.
They faded. They've slipped. Clemson is not the Clemson that went to all those playoffs, right? That they're not that program right now. And this year will go a long way in determining if they're going to head back towards that direction. Not that we'll ever get back to, that level, because that was just a special run that we went on. But I think this year will go a long way in telling maybe what the back half of Dabo's tenure is going to be at Clemson, what it's going to look like. But, I mean, like Air Mike said, it still is very much a see it to believe it kind of deal. As cautiously optimistic as I am for this season. And I love what you're hearing. I love that it sounds like the players are approaching this season with a completely different attitude than they did last year. All that stuff's great. But it still is a see it before you believe it type of deal, because it's just been too many years of, everything's going great, and then the season comes around and everything's not going great. So we'll see. But as you mentioned, there's some coaches coaching for their jobs. So hopefully there's a newfound fire in that building of, hey, we got to prove ourselves. We got to get right.
Let's see. John says, yeah, the words you hear a lot more this offseason are accountability and intensity. Yeah, I mean, I guess if there was one word to, just kind of summarize what the emphasis was this offseason was accountability. Just holding guys accountable, holding coaches accountable, holding players accountable, holding everybody in that building accountable to what they're supposed to be doing. And being able to just have one understanding of what they're working towards and what's is needed to be accomplished in order for this team to and for this program to get back on the right track. And with all the moves that Dabo's made this offseason, it was very evident that was what was on his mind first and foremost, and what probably frustrated him the most about last season. Just guys not being held accountable.
Yeah,
players, coaches, staff alike, just from top to bottom. And I think all we're talking about the guys under him, but also Dabo himself holding himself accountable for the failures of the team last year, and making sure that and doing things to make sure that doesn't happen again. So it's every bit as much of a mantra and a goal for himself as it is a goal for his players and his staff. Accountability.
No, Tiger Tom. He said, is Dabo one of them coaching for his job? No, Dabo is not coaching for his job.
Yeah, I would not, but barring something catastrophic, I would not expect that to be the case.
There are coaches on the staff that I believe are coaching for their job, but Dabo Swinney is not one of them. I think it's going to take a significant amount more of disappointment at Clemson for the board of trustees and Graham Neff and company to get to the point where they'll actually part ways with Dabo. He's built up a lot of cachet there. So, no, I don't think. I don't see this season going any way where we're like, oh, Dabo's going to get fired at the end of the season. I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, I don't think so. We starred CJ's comment from earlier because we like this one. BYOG or sell. Chris Denson has less than 40 snaps this year. And, obviously this is in the wake of the comments about Chris Denson and his recent, position change, which if you guys have been watching the show, we told you guys this was coming.
It was coming. Yeah.
This future that was just pretty evident based off of everything that we had heard coming out of spring. He's still going to take snaps at quarterback. So it's not like a full transit. It's not like he's just been kicked out of the quarterback room, but this is essentially their way of weaning him out of any sort of expectation that he's going to be a long-term part of the long-term plan at the position.
Yeah, I mean, I think they made it clear that they're just kind of exploring options at this point to get him on the field.
Yeah,
because he is an explosive athlete and he is dangerous with the ball in his hands. As a quarterback, it's never going to happen at Clemson. So if he wants to play quarterback, like we mentioned before in the spring, he's going to have to transfer and go somewhere else. But if he's okay with kind of transitioning to other positions, running back, receiver, somewhere in there, I definitely think he has a place and he could carve out a role on this Clemson roster. Now this season might be a little tough. There's a lot. There's a lot of weapons there. It's a very deep wide receiver room. You got a pretty good 1 and 2 at the running back position as well with Gideon Davison and Chris Johnson Jr. So I don't know that happens for him this season, but I do think him moving positions, he could have an impact for this team in the future.
Yeah.
So
I think so too.
I will buy that he has less than 40 snaps this year.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it too, just because I think this is just not a great situation for him to get a ton of snaps this year, especially if we're looking at just offense. I just don't see how he gets on the field that many times. I mean, listen, in a 12-game season, you're talking about 3 offensive snaps a game. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but through the course of the regular season and with the types of teams that and the types of games this team probably is going to be in, I don't see this team blowing out a ton of teams on their schedule. It's just going to be tough to put him on the field in some high leverage situations, and just with the options you have. Especially if he's going to line up at receiver or running back, it's like why would I have Chris Denson on the field versus just
who are you taking off?
Having my best players.
Who are you taking off the field to put Chris Denson on?
Yeah. So
unless
it's unless it's like a package where you put him in at quarterback and for a play or two, but that's going to be a thing you pull out once in a game, maybe just to throw the defense off. Yeah. Or maybe try to spring a big play, with some trickery or some misdirection. But beyond that, how do you see, him being worked onto the field for 3 snaps a game, essentially? Yeah. And it's, obviously he's not going to be the first guy coming off the bench when it comes to, quarterback. So even in the blowout games, you're not going to see it. It's going to be, obviously Tate Reynolds, and assuming Chris Rosina is your starter, and then Chris Denson wasn't even 3rd on the depth chart, so it wouldn't be him coming in after that. You would see either Brock Bradley or Trent Pierman coming in, and so where is the the garbage time minutes?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some packages they could do, but again, I think his snaps will be limited.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think they'll have something for him, and just in less than 40 snaps less than 40 snaps this year doesn't mean we won't see him at all. And I definitely expect to see at some point this season in a high leverage moment they pull out some trick play or something that with Chris Denson involved, or some sort of package in a game, just to get him on the field and maybe just throw the defense off guard. Like, I think that's well within the realm of possibility, but just over the course of a 12-game season, I can't project him playing that much with the state of your wide receiver room, your running back room. I just feel like you have too many other playmakers that have been playing their position and have been spending time solely at that position to be like, why would I take them off the field? I just it doesn't I can't square that away. But I could be proven wrong. And obviously if he makes strides this year, that could change, and they maybe they feel like they can get him on the field more. But I definitely think his projection is more long term as far as being a playmaker in this offense.
Right.
Let's see. I started this one. John asked, "Are you guys going to bring in any other Clemson media folks? There are some young whippersnappers that are doing a good job lately, like Griffin Barfield or others." Yes, absolutely. Um, this is obviously we're going to have a really special guest next year. I wouldn't call him a young whippersnapper. I don't know if he would. You know what? I will call him a young whippersnapper. I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil it yet, but we're definitely gonna have some great guests lined up here in the near future, and yes, that will include some of the best and brightest in Clemson media. So y'all
Yep.
make sure to stay tuned.
Yeah, we got a special guest for you guys coming next week. So make sure you guys are here next Tuesday. We will have a special guest.
Yes, we will. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Isaac Smith says, "Yeah, I got to go through and watch more interviews. But which coach do y'all think gave the most insight on the team or his room?" I mean, I think ultimately, I'd say Tyler Grisham was just
Yeah, I
really
think Tyler Griffin did a really good job.
Yeah, he was very and it's very easy to be complimentary of that room. I mean, we can only gush so much about how much we like this group, but yeah, he just kind of he talked a lot about a number of different guys, and obviously the focus wasn't even on the stars because we know how good they are.
Yeah,
and you always like to hear the interviews where you hear not you just want a coach to come and talk about the guys we already know about. You want them to talk about the guys that
and
are new or.
I like some of the insight that he gave about the different ways in which he's challenging his wide receiver room this year. Of finishing plays and being operating with more physicality on the perimeter blocking and assignments off ball and finishing your routes even when you're maybe a decoy, the ball ain't coming to you, running those routes with conviction. He talked about obviously finishing catches and being physical when the ball is coming to you as well. But I did like a lot of that insight where he was talking about some help that he has in the wide receiver room now, so that he can break up into stations and just being a little bit more demanding of that group when it comes to the physicality in which they're going to operate with on the perimeter. Because in this Chad Morris offense, those wide receivers are going to be asked to block on the perimeter. So it's something that you got to decide that you want to be good at, right? It's not the fun part of being a wide receiver, right?
No, it's not. But it's all the more important. And obviously any good offense, and any offensive coordinator, any wide receiver coach worth his salt, he's going to emphasize the wide receivers being every bit as involved, blocking and doing the dirty work as they are, making plays on the ball. It's like, we know you can catch, we know you're athletic, we know you can run, but are you going to be valuable when you're not getting the football? And wide receiver, it's the toughest. It's the toughest position, I think, in a lot of ways to stay engaged. I listened to Tom Brady, I believe on Jason Kelsey's podcast, and he was talking about the AJ Brown situation in Philadelphia, and you have to realize, like, these guys are standing 20 plus yards off the ball, far away from the ball, and they're only going to maybe get the football 3 or 4 times a game. It's in as many plays as you run. The average team runs about 70 plays a game.
Yeah.
Like, and you're only involved in as far as getting the football in a small percentage of that, less than 10%. Like, it's tough to stay engaged. I mean, because compared to other positions, running back, and you're definitely going to get the ball. You're going to tote the rock. You're going to be involved in every play. Offensive line and tight end, of course, you're going to be blocking and running routes every play. But wide receiver, it's like I'm away from the ball. I'm away from the action. 90+% of the time, and especially if I know I'm really good, and I'm only getting I'm not getting the football. It's tough to stay engaged, and that's what makes it so difficult about playing that position, but also from a quarterback and wide receiver relationship standpoint. So having a good coach and being and making the dirty work of being a wide receiver just as engaging as all of the glamorous parts of it. I think that's what makes a good coach, a good coach of the position. And I think if we see that level of effort and want to from this group blocking, obviously I think that's a really good sign and is only going to help this offense be as functional as possible. So
Yep.
if they've made those strides that are needed in the blocking game, they absolutely will be a lot more successful running the football, but also just creating opportunities to create explosive plays in the passing game. So just very, very pleased with where the room is, of course, but excited to see that what improvements they've made, and obviously Tyler Grisham's development as a coach has been really nice to see.
Yeah, I think he's becoming a really, really good wide receivers coach.
Isaac asked about Noble Johnson. Yeah, no, I believe he's at Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
I was just gonna type it in the chat, but I was like, might as well just address
He followed old Sweeney down to Georgia Southern.
Yep. Let's see. David says special guest. Yes, y'all will be on time. I don't. I wouldn't go that far. I don't know.
Never.
Never. Yeah, I wouldn't bank on that one. CJ says, do you agree with Dabo's opinion that we're faster at every position? I tried to find an argument against, but it's difficult. I mean, I do think just in general, I mean, the team speed, with the additions you've made, I think it can only get better. I think it was very apparent, especially on defense last year, that you just did not have the horses. I mean, you had guys that looked good coming off the bus, but just from a play-to-play standpoint, just were slow. There were obviously athletic limitations, but also when guys don't know what they're doing and guys aren't on the same page, you're going to play slow anyway. So, in more than one way, I think this team is faster from just a pure, speed, athletic speed standpoint, sure. But also, I mean, I expect this unit to be more cohesive, less thinking. Guys understand what their role is on the defense, play to play. All of those things make you a faster team as well, because instead of thinking, you're reacting, and that's what any good defense needs to be able to do. You shouldn't have guys thinking out there. They just need to be doing. But to answer your question, completely, I would say, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, quarterback, I think a hobbled Cade Klubnik is slower than Chris Vezina. I mean, obviously Tate Reynolds can run if he gets in the game. Chris Denson is we know what he is as an athlete. So I mean, quarterback position, the quarterback room in general, I think is faster. Running back, I think is obviously faster. I mean, just the addition of Chris Johnson Jr. alone makes the running back room faster. Wide receiver. I mean, I think you've got a lot of guys that can run. You did last year, but especially this year with the addition of the freshmen. So say yes there. Tight end. I mean, you're bringing back two guys that you kind of know what you're getting. Two knowns in Olsen Pat Henry and Christian Beneker. I think those guys are, I think, only going to get better. And you add, Logan Brooking in the mix, and and obviously Tavion Wilson. I think, I think those guys. I think as a whole, I think add more speed to your room as well. So I say yes there. Offensive line. I mean, I can't say that's like I can't say there's really an objective measure of speed there to measure, but at least at the positions that matter. So like the offense, I'd say yes, you're faster as a team. And then you look at defense. I definitely think you've got guys with twitch on the edge that'll be able to run. I think it's a lot of smaller athletic bodies. Will Helt and Jaheim Lawson are certainly going to be major factors in there. But then you go deeper into the depth chart, and you get London Merritt, Darian Mayo, guys that with tremendous upside, we feel. So I think you're going to see those guys a decent bit this year as well. I'd say you're faster, probably twitchier there, opposed to some of the guys that departed last year. I'd say you're faster defensive end, linebacker. We'll see. I think maybe linebackers. I'm still kind of up in the air. Bringing back Sammy Brown is great, but as a team, have you gotten faster? And as a position room, have you gotten faster? Maybe. That one's kind of tough to call because you still have a lot of unknown there. That's kind of our biggest question mark at the moment. And then I think defensive back very easily. Yes, you've gotten faster. I think it's none more apparent than at safety. I think the especially with the two transfers you brought in. I think those guys are going to be a night and day difference from the safety play you got last year, and obviously from a speed standpoint, but also from a size and length standpoint. So, I'd say you definitely got faster there. Corner, Corian Gibson, when he's healthy, he's one of the fastest. He's one of the fastest players on the team. We know Ashton Hampton can run.
Yeah.
You brought in Donovan Starr from Auburn. He's probably one of the faster players on the team. I think this room as a whole, I think the cornerback room as a whole is probably faster. I just kind of went through everybody, but like it's hard to say this team didn't, as a whole hasn't gotten faster. But the guys you brought in and the guys you return, and I think you're in. It's a much healthier. They're in a much healthier place from an athletic standpoint.
Yeah, and I think that's been a focus this offseason. You kind of heard Dennis Love and that kind of being a big portion of the offseason was speed and agility, really getting these guys faster. So.
Laughing at the that exchange about Noble Johnson in the chat.
He gone.
Yeah,
he's not at Clemson.
Yeah, no. Let's see. John, with a BYOG or SELF, the NFL staff that isn't position coaching or coordinating will have as big an impact on the upgrade this year as the new and existing coaches. He says by it will have as big as an impact on the upgrade this year as the new and existing coaches. Oh, that's a good question. Because it's always hard to quantify the impact of support staff because they serve in so many different roles and of varying importance and involvement. That one's tough.
I guess it could be because the difference now is everybody can coach,
right?
And that wasn't always the case, right? Your support staff used to not be able to do any on-field coaching,
right?
And now they can. So, I don't know that they will have as big of an impact, but I do think, bringing those guys on definitely impacts the team in a positive way. We finally got a special teams coordinator. How long we've been beating the table for that one, Jordan?
Yeah.
It feels like I've talked about that for 3 seasons now.
Yeah.
So finally got that figured out. But
yeah,
and then you got former NFL head coaches. So I think it's a positive impact. I don't know that I would go as far to say that they will have as big of an impact. But I do think it's good that they're on the staff.
I agree. Let's see. CJ with a good question. He asks, who's our best blocking wide receiver? Something that's not talked about a lot. That one's tough, but honestly, the player that I feel like I've seen the most out of and the most as far as blocking and
see if you're going to say the same one that comes to my mind.
I'm going to say it's TJ Moore.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Just when I think about just plays,
I can think of last year. I can think of 5 to 6 plays off the top of my head.
Yeah,
where you saw him putting in work on the perimeter, and that making a play go significantly longer than it would have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I think TJ Moore right now is your best wide receiver. Blocking wide receiver.
Yeah. It could be your best wide receiver, but that's still you'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. He's got to go out there and do it.
Yeah. But yeah, I just when I think of the guys that I've seen be the most impactful in the blocking game, TJ Moore has more standout moments. Now I don't know if that necessarily means play to play that he was your best blocker, but I don't know. I feel like he of the receivers last season, and of course, Bryant Wesco didn't have a great sample size because he wasn't playing. But just of what we saw last year and the guys that I saw the most involvement from, I think TJ was I think TJ was the most involved. I was thoroughly impressed, honestly, with how good he was as a blocker.
He gave effort out there blocking.
Yeah.
He wasn't just going through the motions, which is unfortunately sometimes what you see with some wideouts when it comes to blocking. They're just like standing in front of somebody, not actively blocking.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'd have to go back. I think Antonio Williams was underrated when he was asked to block, but obviously he's not here anymore. So yeah, of the guys still on the roster and guys we've seen the most of, I feel like TJ was the best involved, the most involved, but it's hard to say. and you got to see, and obviously can't grade the freshmen because we haven't seen them at all. So that one's a tough one.
I would go TJ though.
But yeah, I would say TJ. I think he has the. And TJ says he seems like the meanest blocker, but I wasn't sure if he was the best. And yeah, and like I said, you might be right about that. I mean, I'd have to go back and really pay a lot of attention, play to play, and watch some of the games from last year. But as far as just had the guy that had the most effort plays and the guy that did that sprung the most big plays and was you felt like had the most standout moments blocking, I would say it was TJ.
Yeah.
David mentions Tristan Smith. When he got on the field, he used his frame pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't get a ton of opportunity last year, but
right.
He was definitely locked in when he was out there.
Yeah. Let's see. John says BYOG or Silver. We're probably going to see more 12 personnel than we've seen in years. Oh yeah, that's a buy. Yeah. That definitely definitely think we'll see more.
Oh yeah.
So
no doubt.
Yeah, I think that's an easy buy. Especially just with your top two guys. I mean, both of there's no way. I mean, I don't know how Chad Morris would keep keep either one of them off the field for any extended period of time. They're going to find ways to get them both on the field because they each have a lot of utility. Let's see. John also says, CV and TJ had a great chemistry in the SMU game. Might be the favorite target for the quarterback this year. Half of TJ's touchdowns came from CV's arm last year. Amazing to realize that for me. Yeah, it really does put things into perspective. I mean, and also just how good TJ Moore was in that SMU game. But yeah, I mean, they seem to they seem to work together great, and that's. I mean, that's part of the reason TJ came back. Because and that's one thing. Like I consistently get as far as feedback about the players and how they feel about this quarterback situation. The guys believe in Chris Vizina. The guys love him. I mean, he's really taken on the leadership role. So, I mean, if Chris Vizina doesn't work out as QB1, it's not because the guys didn't believe in him, or and that he didn't have the guy his players and his teammates behind him.
Yeah,
that's that. So I mean, they respect him. He commands and I think he's stepped into that role. He wasn't like naturally like he didn't just become that, but he's really when it was his time, he really. He sees the opportunity, and I think the players, believe in him. So, like I said, if Chris Vizina does not work out as quarterback one, it's not because his teammates weren't playing for him. I think you'll see this team give 100% for Chris. So. And I think, he does have a good connection with TJ. And that's one thing from what we saw of Chris, especially in the starting role, he got the ball to the playmakers. He did that for sure. And he gave them ample opportunities. So, obviously he has to clean up, the other aspects of being a quarterback. But, that was one thing that, he did that just we didn't get a lot of last year was, just seeing your best guys make plays because they were getting the opportunity to make plays. Yeah, CJ says hopefully CV to CJ doesn't become K to Antonio. Sometimes it felt too forced. Yeah, I mean, yeah, CV doesn't need to zero in on TJ. You have there's no reason to do that.
There's so many
other
weapons out
options.
there.
Yeah, you have options. That should never be the case unless he's hot and they're just leaving him and he's just consistently getting open. Yeah, I mean you give him the ball, but like. There should never be a situation. It's like, okay, I have to get the ball to TJ on this play. Like that should never be the mindset.
Right.
Yeah, if he's having a great night, then just keep giving him opportunities. But it's just in general you should never. Not with this room. If TJ Moore was on the 2021 team, okay. Yeah, I mean, like, oh, yeah, we need to give him the ball as much as possible. Like that just we don't have anybody else that can make plays right now.
Right.
I mean, God, man, just thinking about that 2021 room, Jesus. Oh,
it's bad, dude.
Yeah, but Bo Collins was your best receiver. Yeah, God. All right. I was just having nightmares about that, and of course, I can never forget a crippled Justin Ross. Those were your playmakers on the outside. That was okay. Thinking of Will Sweeney starting against South Carolina.
It's a great season, man.
Don't. Yeah, those were dark days, man. All right. John says Adam Randall may have been the best blocking wide receiver in the past 5 years for the Tigers. Yeah, I mean he was that was one thing you could rely on him when he was on the outside was he was gonna. I mean he really had no choice to be a great blocker with that size, but
yeah I mean
I digress. Isaac, I think Olsen Pat Henry is one of the best blocking tight ends under that. Yeah, I agree. I mean,
for sure,
absolutely. Dude said Olsen Pat Henry sounds like a Civil War general. General
Pat Henry.
General Pat Henry. Yeah.
Served in the 89th Infantry Regiment.
It
does kind of sound like a Civil War general.
It does. Oh God. I'm not gonna be able to unhear that now. You ruined his name for me. John said Beauregard, Pat Henry. Yeah. Oh man. We need to bring those names back. It's like I want to go to school. Wish I went to school with a Beauregard. John says, I think one of the biggest issues was K getting the ball out too late. Hopefully Viz can get the ball out faster. Yeah, I mean, just processing and it's obviously going to be a major part of Vizina's success, and if and that's just one thing that he had to really work on when he got to Clemson. I mean, obviously the nuances of playing the quarterback position, because in high school, I mean, with when he was at his best, watching his film, it was when he was making plays off script. I mean, he was kind of a gamer. I mean, he wasn't a guy that was just going to pick apart a defense, and because he beat them with exceptional timing, precision, and accuracy. He was like, no, I'm gonna scramble out of the pocket, launch a 50-yard bomb because I created I sucked the defense in, or I'm gonna make this play with my legs, and I'm bigger and stronger than this DB that's trying to tackle me. Like, it was different. It was a different. He's not going to be able to do that to the same degree as he did in high school. He's gonna. So how far along he's come as a quarterback, within the working within the pocket is going to ultimately dictate whether or not he's successful. And listen, Chad Morris's offense isn't overly complicated and super hard for a quarterback. It's a very quarterback friendly offense.
Yeah, very much so.
But you still got to be timing and precision are things that he's going to have to do at a high level to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, Cade's issue was always post-snap, man.
Yeah.
He did not see the field well.
Nope. Yeah, Seth, do you think Chad Morris' identity will be running the ball on offense? It better be. He said as much today.
That's what he's been saying since he took the job.
Yep.
He said, I want to be run first, physical. So better be the case.
Yep. BYOG or sell. Chad Morris averages 22 plus run plays a game. Oh, that's the easy buy. You better. I mean, it better be running the ball more.
Better be running more than that, honestly.
Yeah, he's got to be running way more than that. Oh, he said, okay, running back, run plays and carries. Even running still,
back. Okay. I mean, yeah, I still say over.
I still say over. But you'll definitely see a lot of quarterback run. It's a Chad Morris offense. You're going to see the quarterback run the football.
Now we'll see how Chris Vizina does with that. I've not been impressed in the past with his running ability.
I think Chris is a better athlete than he.
For sure,
he's gotten to show that.
I think he's capable of it. It's just what we've seen in the past has not looked great.
No.
But he's certainly athletic enough. Like I'm not saying the dude can't run. He can run. He's just got to make that choice and become a lot more comfortable with it because he's definitely going to be asked to run the football.
TJ with a great question.
This is a good question.
Who starts first this year, Cade or Tate? Honestly, I'm going to say Cade.
Probably Cade.
I'd say Cade. There's a realistic chance Cade Klubnik starts games for the Jets this year.
Who did the Jets even have?
So they're a hot mess right now. But he only has to beat out what's his face? Oh gosh, let me just Google the Jets quarterback room. It is not. It's not good.
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Geno Smith, yeah, also Brady. So it's Geno Smith and Brady Cook and Bailey Zappi. Like that is not. None of those guys scream guaranteed to start. I mean, Geno Smith has started, but like I don't know. Other than that, that doesn't scream like that. None of that screams. He's definitely going to, he's got that locked down. I mean, I think Geno Smith will definitely start the year, but like, as far as who comes off the bench, and Geno's got the he's got the off the field stuff going on right now. So like, there's a realistic, if that.
I think
You
he
know
could,
that.
I
You know,
think
didn't
I
work out.
think they could beat out Zappy.
Yeah. And Brady Cook. Yeah. I mean, yeah. That. I mean, I think Brady Cook started some last year, but like,
Cade's definitely better than Brady Cook.
yeah, I'd. Yeah, that's going to be real. That's going to be really something. And man, like we've already said it on the show, but if Cade Klubnik becomes a great starting, a good starting
I'm be so
NFL
mad,
quarterback,
dude.
yeah,
I'm be so upset. I'm be happy for him, but
happy. Yeah, but like,
I'm gonna be upset about it.
yeah, because Garrett Riley might not be allowed to step foot within the state of South Carolina again.
Yeah, don't ever come to South Carolina again.
Yeah. Let's see. All right, let's do a couple more, and then we'll get on out of here. Where round did K go? The fifth? No, he went in the fourth. I want to say he was a fourth. I want to say it was a fourth round. Yeah. He went with who else got drafted in the fourth round? Was it Wade? Was it Wade that got Wade Woodaz that got drafted in the fourth?
I think so. Yeah.
I want to say. Yeah, fourth round, 110th.
Fourth round, pick 110.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so good. Yeah, Wade. It was Wade Woodaz that
They traded up to go get him.
Yep. CJ said Clemson could have 3 NFL starting quarterbacks next year. Yep. And it'll never like that our first in school history, but it won't feel it'll feel weird. Like it won't feel like the crowning achievement maybe it should, because well, the 2 of them have issues. So very different issues, but
yeah. I mean, I'd like to see Deshaun get back to some semblance of what he used to be.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Carl says, Jags offense is scheme for Trevor Lawrence. I want that scheme at Clemson. Well, maybe some elements. I mean, I don't not sure I want to try to run an NFL offense. That is just in Clemson's experience, that hasn't worked when they've tried to do that. So, ask the school, in Columbia what happens when you try to install an NFL offense.
Worked out great for him.
Yeah, no, it just they just they tried that under Will Muschamp, and they wasted lots of NFL draft talent. So I'm good on that. Shi Smith and Josh Van and Alshon Jeffrey and not Alshon Jeffrey, but he was way before that. Deebo Samuel. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good on that. Hayden Hurst. Yeah, you think of some of the offensive players that the Will Muschamp era South Carolina had, like the fact they were as bad as they were, honestly, in retrospect, is kind of hilarious, because they low key were putting really good talent out, and on defense they were pretty good.
KD says Shi Smith went to jail yesterday. For what?
Yeah. Oh, did he? I didn't even hear about that. Oh, wow. Damn. Okay. Yeah, I'll be on the lookout for that if that's true. Wow. Oh, he says it's drug related. Mm.
Yeah, gun and drug charges.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
What the heck is wrong with these people?
Hate that. Just throwing your career away.
Oh, no. Unlawful handgun and narcotic with the intent to distribute.
Mm.
Uh-oh.
Well, and what state was he in? Was he in
South Carolina?
Oh boy. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, no, one of the worst states to pick up a drug charge. Oh, brother. All right. Well, yeah, they're not. I mean, I hope you have a good lawyer because they're gonna throw the book at you, brother.
If anybody feel any better, it was marijuana.
Oh, but again one of the worst states to pick up a marijuana charge.
Yeah, you're cooked, dude.
You're cooked.
I ain't going for that.
You're cooked.
I ain't going for that.
They care more about the marijuana than they do the gun.
Yeah, they don't really care about the gun.
They don't care about the gun.
The only reason they care about the gun is because you had drugs with it.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, brother.
Yeah, he was in Union County.
Oh,
brother.
Yeah, he's cooked. All right. I said I'll do a couple. I gotta answer this one. David said, "Can y'all have Sophie Cunningham as a guest, brother? If I DM Sophie Cunningham and she responds, I will not be taking that opportunity to get her on my show. That's not what I'm going to be. That's not what I'm going to be doing with that. So that's going to be a no, even if she did reply back. That's
let her deal with that.
I got different intentions. Oh man,
what would that be, Jordan? What would that be?
To Bible study.
Yes.
Yeah. Invite her to Bible study. Absolutely. I promise y'all I'm not laughing. I'm in prayer. I think that's a good place to.
Yeah, I think that's it. We'll call it there.
We'll call it there.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Still got 28 people, 30 people in the live chat. If you have not already, please hit that like button. It's free, and it really helps us out on these live videos. So do that for us. Be here next Tuesday, 8 p.m. We got a special guest coming on for you guys. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a great conversation. You want to tell them who it is? Or are we just going to save it until next week?
I say we say I don't want to like spring it on them because I definitely want to promote it.
Yeah,
but we'll make a community post.
All right, we'll make a community post later in the week. Let you guys know who's coming on. But I promise you won't want to miss it. It's going to be a great guest. Look forward to talking some Clemson football. We'll obviously have ACC Media Days to break down. Hopefully the ACC don't fumble it quite as bad as the Big 12 did with their Monster Energy.
What was that?
Brother. You telling me we got to put logos on the field, patches on the jersey for football and men and women basketball, and we get $1 million? That's it? $1 million. What are we supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
Is that even going to cover the cost of putting the logos on the jerseys and on the court? Like, you got to repaint your basketball court.
Yeah, I don't. He might be. I don't even know if you're gonna break even on that one.
They gonna lose money. How you get a sponsor deal and you lose money?
Yeah.
Oh, bro.
Donation, brother. Like it's a charitable donation. Hey, I mean it's tax write-off, I guess.
Hey, Brett Yormix, he's out here, leading the charge into the future. He's got it figured out, man.
Yeah.
He's got it figured out. Just ask him, he'll tell you.
This sport has gotten so ridiculous, man. I love it to death. But
hey, what's your take on, before we get out of here, patches on jerseys?
I mean, I think it's silly.
I'll be honest. I do not want to see that. I get it, money, but bro, come on,
do what you got to do. I mean, at this point, I hope you get creative with it and maybe and make it palatable for the fans. But yeah, I can't.
Put the logo up in the stadium somewhere. Don't be putting patches on jerseys, man.
Yeah. Just doesn't feel right. I mean, you're already, during bowl season, you wear, you already get patches and things like that. Like okay, now you're getting that on, and then on top of, sponsorships. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I just, if Clemson if they ultimately go that route, I'm renouncing my fandom. No, I'm kidding.
Don't put nothing on the uniform.
Yeah.
Put it up in the stadium, whatever. I don't care nothing about that. But don't put it on the uniform. Don't do it.
Yeah. I don't care for that.
Not a fan. Katie, you might have a point. I don't know if Dabo would go for that in the beginning. He'd be like, yeah, we're not doing that. No.
Only if it's new spring. If we get some new spring patches, I might get behind that. But other than that.
He said Dabo won't even get new helmets. No, he won't. That ain't never gonna happen. Although there are some cool alternate Clemson helmets out there that I've seen.
Yeah, there's some cool concepts and stuff.
The one of my favorite ones that I've seen is the chrome purple.
Yeah, that's sick.
That look pretty sick.
Yeah, that's sick.
Pretty sick.
That's never coming to Clemson.
No, absolutely not. Never.
That's a pipe dream. Yeah, the good. Yeah, Katie. The new spring patches. I get down with that. That would really hit close to home. I'd like that one. All right, y'all.
Yeah, I would. I agree, Katie. I would vote chrome purple. That would be sick, dude. For the all-out purple military appreciation game, that'd be sick.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good night. We will see you next Tuesday. Until then, go Tigers.